All right, everyone. So we have another video here from Clyde, and this is, I guess you could say, a follow-up to another video that he made, which was a response to Plague of Gripes' Naruto being a hypocrite video. Now, this one should be interesting because, again, the whole topic of Naruto and whether or not he's an underdog has been around for a long time, a long time in the Naruto fandom, and I think that this is a discussion that's still kind of going on, and I think it's just it might be one of those things where people are just gonna have to accept that they just don't see it the same way. You know, I think there's just some people who are just not gonna see Naruto as an underdog, and there are some people who do see him as an underdog. And maybe there are some people who see things from both sides. I mean, you never know. I mean, for me personally, I do see where both sides are coming from. I do. I mean, people who say that Naruto isn't an underdog because he had this, and this, I think that those are good points. But at the same time, people who say that Naruto is an underdog because of this, and this, I also see where they're coming from. So for me personally, I think it's a good mix of both. I think that, again, both sides make good points, and I think that this is just something where like I guess the only person who can kind of truly answer that is the author himself. I think Kishimoto is the only one who can actually answer that, but I don't know. I feel like this is just a discussion that's going to be had for a long time. I just think that this is one of those things where a lot of people are just not going to agree on it. I just think that it is one of those it's one of those things. Now let's go ahead and watch this video and see what Clyde thinks about Naruto not being an underdog according to a lot of other people. No, sorry, he did already kind of address this in the video that we reacted to. That was, like I said, a response to Plague of Gripes' video. And also, before I get into any video, I like to remind people to check the description for links to Clyde's channel as well as this video in and of itself that we're watching, and make sure to leave your thoughts in the comment section down below. And while you're here, like, share, subscribe, and all those things. With that out of the way, let's go ahead and watch the video.
Naruto is without a doubt one of the most influential manga series to ever come out of Japan. I would confidently say that this series, alongside Dragon Ball and Pokemon, is one of the main entities that kicked the door down for anime to become monolithic in Western media throughout the 2000s. The leap in popularity and commonality of anime in the 90s compared to the 2000s is not even close.
No.
Naruto's cultural impact is absolutely undeniable.
And that's...
Your favorite
I think that that is absolutely a good thing. Doing the Rock Lee pose. I think that that is absolutely a good thing, because you always want something that you love to be accepted by more people, you know, around the world. But at the same time, I feel like that could also be kind of it could also have a downside to it, because if you guys know some of the other things I talk about on this channel, you know that sometimes when more people get into this thing that you love, it can lead to, you know, sort of bad things happening to it. Again, I won't get into it in this video, but if you know, then you know what I'm talking about. And that's, I guess, kind of the one thing that I'm worried about when it comes to anime being more accepted around the world. And hell, we already are seeing some of that, you know, what I talked about online, and it's annoying every single time. And it's always by people who you can tell only got into anime within, like, you know, the past couple of years, and they haven't been around long enough, and they don't really know the history of this medium. It kind of sucks, because you want to argue with them, but at the same time you remember that, oh, these people probably just came in like a couple of years ago. So
athletes being a fan,
you kind of have to just wait for them to learn eventually.
forms of entertainment, people doing the famous Naruto run, and it even being used by publicists to get their clients to pretend they are fans of anime so they can appear more relatable to their younger audience, and thus boosting their own popularity. Though One Piece may have impressive profitability and extreme popularity, a lot of
It is very popular, and it's
Japan only. And where One Piece didn't grow outside of Japan.
It's
as
made
fast as, say,
Oda a lot of
Dragon Ball
money, I'm
did.
guessing.
It certainly didn't like
I
Naruto.
mean, obviously, considering it's everywhere.
Naruto is a series that encapsulates all of the cool elements of manga that made anime stand out much more than conventional cartoons. From the relatable cast and their stories, to the edgy motivational music, good use of martial arts, its incredibly interesting power system of hand signs, summoning jutsu, cool eye abilities, and even using items to switch places. This series is absolutely fantastic in many, many ways. So many ways that I genuinely could not properly describe them all in a video that goes less than a few hours. Though with all that being said, the best part about Naruto to me, or the most humorous thing as someone who has been following this series since 2007, is how so many people can watch this anime, read it, buy merchandise, enjoy the fights, play the video games, feel compassion towards the characters even if that character is depicted in a villainous role, and still completely misunderstand the series and its quite obvious thematic messages. It's funny because with how popular Naruto is, it's so easy for people to write the series off as incredibly overrated due to its monstrous popularity. But I would unironically say that this series is actually one of the most underrated series when it comes to the value of its writing. For such a
Well, I will say this. When it comes to the comments about, let me see if I can real quick.
Series off as incredibly
when it comes to this statement right here, Naruto being overrated, here's the thing. I will say this. I do think there are some people who may take it a bit far, saying that Naruto is this just absolute masterpiece that is unrivaled. I do think people who say that are taking it a bit far, because Naruto is not perfect. I don't think any series is perfect. Any series, excuse me. Any series, no matter how good it is, I guarantee you can find at least one or two flaws. I guarantee it. Because no series is perfect. No series, no matter how good it is. Okay, when you hear the best written story, the first thing that pops into your head when you hear that, I guarantee you it has flaws. I guarantee it, no matter how good it is. Because, like I said, nothing is perfect. And Naruto is definitely one of them. Naruto has flaws, and we've talked about them in the in previous videos. In my opinion, most of the flaws you can find in the war arc of Naruto. Now, I'm sure some people have probably like warmed up to the war arc. You know, they probably didn't really like it when it was being released as the story was happening. But I guarantee you, there are some people who probably looked back and said, you know, now that I think about it, now that I look back, the war arc actually wasn't all that bad. Now, for me personally, while there are some things about the war arc I like, and I think I've said this before, a lot of it I am just not a fan of. Most of it has to do with the war arc as it was happening. I just thought a lot of the encounters that we saw with the reanimated shinobi, I just thought it was just kind of boring. Like, I wasn't really interested. And then when it got to the, and then when Madara came back, that's when things finally picked back up. But even there, you can find a lot of flaws, especially like when Madara joined Obito fighting Naruto, Kakashi, and Guy. It's like with the way Kishimoto depicted Madara and how strong he made Obito, like I always thought that these two could have ended things a lot quicker, but it felt like Kishimoto realized that, oh yeah, I can't really end the story here. I kind of needed to keep going, so he just had Madara just sort of play around with them, which technically does fit into his character. But it resulted in the war being prolonged a lot longer, and I think that that's one of the biggest problems that a lot of people had with the war, is that it just kept going on for what felt like forever. And then when, of course, when Obito became the Tensei Jinchuriki, and then there was that whole thing. The way it ended with Naruto and the others being able to pull the Bijou out, and it just felt so. It felt kind of underwhelming, because this is something you've been hyping up for a while, and for him to lose that in that way, again, I'm not saying it doesn't make sense within the context of the story. I'm just saying it just feels a little underwhelming that that's how he lost. And then Madara becomes a Jinchuriki, and well, I mean, pretty much everyone already calls out the problems with what happened there. You don't need me to repeat those here. But yeah, so I just wanted to say that. On the whole Naruto being overrated, I do think some people do give it more praise than what it deserves. I will say that.
Is actually one of the most underrated series when it comes to the value of its writing. For such a long-running series, with so many chapters, so many weekly episodes, it's genuinely constructed quite well. I don't consider Naruto a perfect series by any means,
There you go.
but when you look in retrospect at how long this series is, and how so many characters are interlinked with very in-depth...
Yeah, this is one of my problems. Yeah, the fact that Kakashi apparently awakened the Mangekyo but didn't use it until like Shippuden. It's yeah, I think that's one of those things that is definitely a problem with the writing, and I think it mostly has to do with the fact that Kishimoto probably didn't think of it at the time, and he probably came up with a story later and thought, oh, ooh, maybe he realized the problem a bit too late.
Genuinely good writing that you feel compassionate towards. I believe the series does an alright job when you just consider how long it truly is. You've probably seen endless capital P jokes about Obito Uchiha, who is really an incredible, complex character that deals with very complicated storytelling. Being the black sheep of a clan famous for being filled with endless talent, the effects of youth participating in war, his role as a ninja tool, which is a theme that goes as far back as the...
By the way, just really like what happened here, what the animators did, the way the line... Oh,
the effects of youth participating in war, his role as a ninja...
Yeah, this right here. Just absolutely love what they did here. It only lasted for like a couple of seconds, but I thought it was fantastic. It kind of looked like all of the line work was done by you know, like someone just used a brush. A brush. Sorry, I don't know what happened there, but a brush to do the line art, and I really like it. I kind of wish it was brought back in like future episodes, or maybe it did. It's been a while since I watched an art anime, so maybe it did, and I just I'm not remembering it.
Ninja tool, which is a theme that goes as far back as the Land of Waves arc, or his struggles with his identity. How about Sasuke? His entire story and his struggles are spoon-fed to us since Chapter 3. The massively long evolution of his mental health, his pride as the last remaining Uchiha, the duality of his friendship with Naruto versus his end goal filled with destruction and his quest for vengeance. They'll see all of this amazing storytelling, which has been developed for years in real time, and break it down to edgy emo.
Yeah, I do hate when people do that, when they undermine you know, a character's growth, especially Sasuke, and say, oh, he's just an edgy emo. It's like, no, I mean, you're free to think that if you want, but just know that you're wrong. I'm sorry, but you are.
The one that takes the cake, however, is the one from the title of this video. The main character, Naruto Uzumaki. This story is laid out to us so slap in the face that I could probably describe his childhood better than my own. This swing set right here...
Well, considering all the consistent flashbacks in the anime, it's kind of hard to forget.
The endless flashbacks of it in the anime have basically been branded to my brain with a steel rod. For over 700 chapters, we are shown his struggles, his lowest moments, his confidence, his strengths, his weaknesses, the pressure of everything he has been through, his cool fights, overcoming adversity in every aspect, befriending the embodiment of hate itself, never giving up on his best friend, finally becoming Hokage, and still...
Well, technically, like...
giving up on his best friend, finally...
I'm still mad about this, by the way. The fact that this wasn't actually Naruto, that this was just Iruka using a transformation jutsu. I'm still pissed at this. I don't like that this happened.
Becoming Hokage.
I mean, I get that it was supposed to be a joke, but why? Like, this is... And I think maybe this was brought up in a previous video, but this is a moment that fans have been waiting for years. To see Naruto finally stand up on that roof and accept the title of Hokage. And you have it not happen for a joke. Yeah.
Parroting idiots will...
I mean, I get that Kishimoto likes to troll his audience sometime, but still, I mean, this was not the right time to do it.
Character down to minute comparisons like...
Also one of my favorite openings.
Like, well, he was destined for greatness.
LOL, Naruto Jesus was destined for everything and was born with the nine tails inside of him equals easy mode. Well, I mean, the whole thing about... I mean, I think I talked about this before, but the whole born with the nine tails making things easy for him, yeah, that's a complete lie. Maybe, yeah, he did get the benefits of it later on in life, and he saw some benefits throughout his childhood. But no, I wouldn't necessarily call his life being easy because of the nine tails. But the Naruto Jesus thing, I mean, again, that's kind of hard to deny.
He's Naruto Jesus after all. He was born with a being so by default he has help and was actually gifted all along. He's not a real underdog. And the comparison is usually always, Rock Lee is an underdog character. He run for many great distance and do ultra large, great, humongous push-up. Naruto is just the child of the prophecy whom Jiraiya always knew would succeed. Without a doubt, this is some of the most smooth brain, lack of critical thinking nonsense I consistently see in not just my YouTube comment section, but the greater Naruto community. In the past, I made a video which was pretty much centered around this same topic, and I still, to this day, get the same parroting nonsense.
Hold on, let's see this. Some examples don't reply to them. Yeah. Being a Ricardo Wash literally meant he was asking for greatness. He didn't work that, excuse me. So he's more of a mental underdog than a physical one. Notice how you barely mentioned he's the reincarnation of Naruto. Might not have been an underdog in terms of physical talent or chakra, but he is an underdog in an emotional sense, going through life of exile soon after being born and all the hate. Well, okay, so this is a nice balance between the two. I've always thought Naruto was an underdog at the start. After the pain arc, not so much. I mean, again, the whole child of prophecy thing didn't help. I feel like that kind of it's something that Kishimoto shouldn't have done. I wholeheartedly agree with that argument. I still don't like the fact that he made Naruto the whole like child of prophecy thing. I still am not a fan of that.
Nonsense in my comments all the time. Almost daily, I could be sitting there, taking a shit, scrolling on my YouTube Studio app, and I'm like, oh, okay, there's another retarded comment. To understand both characters,
oh boy, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to monetize this video.
You have to truly think about the point of the argument. The idea here is that the two characters are characters who've overcome adversity, and even still have done exceptionally well for themselves.
I mean, at least he censored it, so I guess I'll have to.
Socially and physically.
Guess I'm gonna have to figure that out when I'm uploading the video.
To create ninjutsu or genjutsu, initially making him quite useless in the world of Naruto. So therefore, he put all of his efforts into maintaining a strong physical body and worked on his taijutsu to the point where it shocks many high-level characters when he's introduced in the Chunin exams. Along with this, thanks to my guy, someone who sees a lot of himself in him,
Excuse me,
was able to learn the 8 inner gates technique. His entire character's foundation is built upon the fact that even without power or talent, if you work hard enough and commit yourself, you can still do great in life. If you had no prior knowledge of Naruto and consumed that quick explanation of Rock Lee's character from me in a vacuum, you'd probably think to yourself, man, what a cool underdog story. Underdog. A competitor thought to have little chance of winning a fight or contest. A person who has little status in society. Notice how this definition applies to almost every character in Naruto. The series consistently deals with things from mental health, corrupt politics, the cycle of suffering and hatred, isolation, one's purpose, and even messages that I wish the author had delved into even deeper. Masashi Kishimoto is an absolute genius.
Like what? Dude, come on, you gotta give us examples.
Creating characters from both the good and bad, which are so well written that you feel genuine sympathy and understanding for them. In most cases too, a lot of them tend to be from a status of underdog. Naruto the character directly falls into this underdog category. In fact, he is so directly in this category that it's embarrassing that this video even needs to be made as a response to so many who don't think for themselves and just parrot the opinions of others. People seem to apply this weird train of logic that because Naruto was destined or prophesized to be great, that he...
Here's the thing, I will say this about what he just said about people just parroting other people's opinions. I do think that does happen. That does really happen because, you know, maybe people who just don't like Naruto as a character, which is fine, there's nothing wrong with that. But I feel like a lot of people who just don't like Naruto as a character, and instead of just saying, you know, I don't like the character, instead of just saying that, they feel like maybe people won't accept that and will ask them for, you know, reasons. Okay, well, why do you not like the character? And because they maybe at the time struggle to find a reason, they just parrot an opinion that they heard online from another person who doesn't like the same character and say, oh, well, it's because of this. And you realize that they unfortunately don't really know why the other person is saying what they're saying. They say it because, well, it's coming from someone who doesn't like the character that I don't like, so it must apply to me, even though, again, they don't really know what they mean by I don't like Naruto because he was kind of portrayed to be an underdog and now he kind of isn't. Like, they don't really know what that person means when they say that, because if you ask that person, they'll be able to give you an explanation. Now, you may not agree with the explanation, but at least they can explain themselves. At least they can give you reasons, whereas the other person don't. And unfortunately, that does happen online. It kind of sucks, but it is what it is. You just kind of have to learn to accept that it's just part of being on the internet. You're gonna have to accept that people are just going to parrot other people's opinions, even though you can kind of tell they don't really know what it is that they're talking about.
It didn't work for anything. He did not know about any of this, nor did it change his mindset to train and become Hokage, or how untalented he was in various other ways at first. Did you guys know that if his destiny was set in stone like Lord's divine will, he would face Sasuke even if he was someone who stayed home all day, ate ramen, never trained, and was just a fat ass? Hypothetical, different reality, overweight Naruto still has to fight Sasuke. Did you also know that if Naruto never trained or tried to become a ninja, he would be hunted down by the likes of Itachi Uchiha, who would have taken him to pain, had the Kyuubi extracted, and he would die? This was one of the first characters who came for Naruto at just the age of 12. You see, unlike Rock Lee, who didn't actually need to become a ninja, quite similar to characters like Sakura, Naruto...
Hold on. Let's read that.
Quite similar to characters like Sakura.
Need as in she and many like could have potentially lived a normal life. Okay, I see you.
Naruto actually had no choice. Regardless of his own desire to become a ninja, the only thing he was truly destined for was suffering. He was not controlled by a higher power, even while destined to do great. And those powers he would later receive from the Sage of the Six Paths were not even given to him until he was around 17 years old, and were mostly used in one singular battle. You may as well disregard Sasuke witnessing his entire...
That is actually something a lot of people don't realize what happened. Again, it's because like Kishimoto, he likes to have things be a bit subtle, or he likes to just have the story kind of speak for itself. He doesn't like to have characters, and I know this is going to sound weird, but he doesn't like to have characters explain things. Like he didn't have Hagoromo when Naruto and Sasuke, like when Naruto and Sasuke sealed away, like they managed to seal away Kaguya using Six Paths catastrophic planetary devastation, or was it planetary construction? One of the two. But after they sealed her away, you'll notice that the sun and moon seal disappeared and then went back to Hagoromo. And then Hagoromo could have gone on this long monologue and say, they did it, and now the power that I gave them has returned back to me. It's like he didn't say that, but it's kind of implied. If you just like, all you have to do is read it, and it's kind of implied that, oh yeah, that's probably what happened. And yeah, I mean, a lot of the power that he did give them did go back to him at once they sealed Kaguya away. And then the power that they used in their battle at the final valley, or the Valley of the End, excuse me, like it was a small piece of chakra that remained with them, because according to Kishimoto, once you have chakra in your body, it never actually goes away. Even if most of it gets taken, even if excuse me, I can talk. Even if most of it goes away, a part of it still remains within you. And that's what happened with Naruto and Sasuke. That's why Sasuke still had the Rinnegan, and that's why Naruto still had access to Six Paths Sage mode. Because a little bit of that power stayed with him. And in fact, you could say he used most of it fighting Sasuke. And that's why he like can't manifest the truth-seeking orbs anymore as an adult, because he only has a small portion of that power. Maybe if he had all of it, he could, but he can't. Or at least that's what a lot of people kind of infer from what happened.
In one singular battle. You may as well disregard Sasuke witnessing his entire clan being slaughtered before his very eyes, getting mind-wrecked by his brother in the Tsukuyomi, which was so intense that Tsunade had to save Kakashi's mind from being ruined, and it hospitalized him for multiple days. From Kakashi's perspective, he was experiencing this torture for multiple days straight. Sasuke as a child was basically put in the same thing, and also manipulated by his, again, own brother, which he witnessed slaughter his whole clan, into absolutely despising him. And then Sasuke finds out all of his ambitions, all of his commitments, everything he's believed in turns out to pretty much be a lie. And one of the people that means more than anything to him, who slaughtered his whole clan, killed his whole family, mentally destroyed him with genjutsu as a child, wasn't even a bad guy in the end.
So hold on.
Single terrible thing Sasuke has been through, even though his childhood might make Rock Lee's childhood look like a gift. Because Sasuke was born with a Sharingan and was destined to eventually gain godly powers, and was destined to fight Naruto to the death, which that in itself isn't actually a good destiny. It's all good. Sasuke and Naruto aren't underdogs, because they were destined to eventually kill one another. What?
Okay, hold on. So I just want to talk about something real quick when it comes to this, because a lot of people have made comments about, you know, if Kishimoto always planned for Itachi to be a good guy, then why did he have Itachi do all of these things to Sasuke? Like, why did he make him relive that night? Why did he make him watch his clan being slaughtered? And why did he make him watch, his own parents being butchered in front of him? Like, why did he do that? Again, I feel like a lot of people who say that don't really know, are not really all that familiar with this series, or they don't familiarize themselves with the lore of the series, because it's made clear to us that people with the Sharingan grow stronger through hate. Their visual powers grow stronger through hate, or at the very least with strong emotions. And hate is unfortunately one of those strong emotions that makes them grow in power a lot quicker than any other emotion. Him doing that to Sasuke, he knew that showing him that would make him hate him. It would grow his hatred for Itachi, and it would strengthen his Sharingan, which would give him the strength to be able to fight him. And that's why he told him about the Mangekyo, and that the only way to attain it is to basically murder your closest friend. It was the only way. And now, personally, I've always seen that as Itachi kind of hoping that Sasuke actually wouldn't do that. Like, he was hoping Sasuke wouldn't do what Itachi did. I guess he was doing this in the hopes that there would still be some good in Sasuke, that he wouldn't kill his closest friend, which was Naruto. And when Sasuke showed up without the Mangekyo, then he knows, oh, so he didn't do it. And that means that, like, there's still hope for Sasuke. Like, he hasn't fully gone down the road of, you know, being a villain, and he hasn't fully embraced the Uchiha clan's, I guess you could call them, faults of doing whatever it takes for power. Well, Sasuke kind of did, but the one line he wasn't willing to cross was killing, like, family and friends. Like, that was the one line he wasn't willing to cross, which I guess is, again, I've always seen it as something that Itachi was kind of hoping for. But yeah, the whole thing about him using Tsukiyomi to show Sasuke the night of the Uchiha clan massacre, I always thought he did it because he knew that it would strengthen Sasuke's hate for him, and it would strengthen his visual prowess, which it did kind of work, because after showing him, a lot of people probably forget about this, but Sasuke remembered that night, and he remembered chasing after Itachi, and the Sharingan did awaken in Sasuke at that night. A lot of people probably forgot about that, but yeah, Sasuke had the Sharingan like years ago when he was a kid, years before we saw him at the beginning of the Naruto story. He didn't awaken him for the first time during his fight with Haku. But yeah, that's just kind of my thoughts on that.
But even with every single gift, and was destined to fight because they were destined to eventually kill one another. What? It's literally the equivalent of giving a winning lottery ticket to a child of war and saying they were destined for millions of dollars. So that removes them from being the underdog status by virtue of having money now, even though it doesn't erase all of the hard work, the suffering, the permanent trauma, and everything else they've been through. If you look at the story of Naruto, and then disregard him being the story of an underdog because the Nine-Tails decided to occasionally give Naruto an amp in fights, when we later found out the Nine-Tails only did this so he could either take Naruto over, or have Naruto die in combat so he could randomly respawn on the planet and be free from the seal which contained him inside of Naruto. If you look at all of that, all the struggles, all the flashbacks, everything that Masashi Kishimoto laid out to us on a silver platter with amazing cutlery to consume, well, you're most likely a little slow. We don't even know if being destined in Naruto to do something means that you are guaranteed to reach this destiny. The series consistently shows us that characters are always going against their destiny or supposed thing that they're meant to do, and they surpass it, whether it's a rough childhood, an unwinnable battle. Sasuke, Naruto, and Madara all showed us that the things prophesized can be changed. So again, them being prophesized to do these things doesn't have any reflection on their childhoods, as it shows their hard work and struggle still got them to this spot. And even if Naruto and Sasuke were meant to achieve godlike power, they didn't have access to any of it until they were 17, well beyond a lot of the crap they had been through. Just think about Madara Uchiha for a second. He was fated to fight Hashirama Senju to the death. And what did Madara do? He broke that fated battle by surviving, having himself revived, and reaching the Sage of the Six Paths powers. This in itself proves to us that although destined to do great things, if Naruto did not train since he was younger, he would have never reached this destined great power. In fact, when you think about all of the gifts that Naruto and Sasuke had when they were growing up, Naruto, even being from the Uzumaki clan, had barely any relevance to him growing up. Maybe it made his body a little bit more durable, but it's like, oh boohoo, he takes a few more punches. Why is that even a big deal? Because the Ninetales, if you think about that, the Ninetales would always mess with his ability to mold chakra into jutsu, and he was mentally a mess inside anyway. A lot of Sasuke's gifts too came from his hard work, determination, and non-stop training. He was
But wait, hold on, see, this is we got to talk about this for a second.
The Ninetales
wouldn't like Kurama and Orochimaru messing with Naruto's ability to eat chakra kind of explain why he's so talentless and why he has trouble performing certain abilities? I mean, isn't that kind of an explanation for that, as opposed to the fact that he himself was just talented on his own, or excuse me, untalented on his own? If the reason why he sucked is because of Kurama and then later Orochimaru, at least during this part of the story, wouldn't it mean that if they hadn't interfered, then Naruto would actually be talented? See what I mean?
Always mess with his ability to mold chakra into jutsu, and he was mentally a mess inside anyway. A lot of Sasuke's gifts too came from his hard work, determination, and non-stop training. He was always trying to advance and do better. Their first battle against Dangerous Ninja, Sasuke is prepared because he has been constantly marinating in his brain about how he is going to surpass his brother, and he is always prepared. This isn't a gift. This is something that is by
Sasuke also didn't even use his Sharingan in battle until he was like 12 or 13, yeah.
By virtue of his own hard work and the absolute...
Actually, he did use it once before, like I said. But I guess you could say that was mostly due to the situation and, you know, the emotions that were running through his head at the time, kind of helping him move through, as opposed to him being able to use it willingly. Because after his fight with Haku, he learned how to do it, you know, on his own.
When he was younger. And something that is very admirable of, say, Sasuke and Naruto is that no matter how many times they get knocked back, they always want to surpass their previous selves, improve on their techniques, learn more, and just do better.
So where's that mentality now in the Boruto era? Where's that mentality now? Like, did that just go away? All of a sudden, like, they're not interested in getting stronger, surpassing their former selves? Like, did that just go away? Are they just okay with where they are now? Because plot says they need to be where they are now, so that we're not going to get in.
Face of adversity, they never stop. Naruto also being the son of the fourth Hokage Minato means nothing too, because he didn't get
I mean, I wouldn't say it means nothing.
Physical appearance. If you want to argue that his talent somehow carried over, there's really no indication of that other than that Naruto really was a hard worker deep down inside. And if you want to say that he had any gifts from the fourth Hokage, I mean, he was left with half of the Ninetales, probably one of the most dangerous beings on the planet, and something that made him hated in the village and the entire village was absolutely terrified of. And it wasn't left in Naruto to give him an edge growing up. It was actually left in Naruto because they were hoping that when Naruto was to grow up, that he would somehow turn this, you know, gift, if you want to even call it that, into being able to control the power of the Ninetales, which so many people had trouble with. Countless characters time and time again describe that Naruto will eventually surpass Minato, and will do this without even meeting him until later. He didn't even know that his father was the Hokage. It had zero relevance to his upbringing. And to describe how Naruto even got anything tangible from Minato, other than his hair color and somewhat physical appearance, this actually goes so deep that Masashi Kishimoto didn't even plan to introduce Minato or Kushina into the story until he himself had kids, and noticed that this element was very important to the story. It's definitely true that the Ninetales did assist Naruto, but it was never with good intention. If Naruto had lost to Neji, he would have just trained and never stopped until he was Hokage. Gaara's character showed us how dark this stuff can get, as he was basically insane due to his tail beast. And to think that it's a blessing to have the Ninetales inside of you, and ignore just how horrible it made Naruto's life, is so truly idiotic when it's shown to us so many times throughout the series. It's actually one of the main elements of the whole series. Sasuke's is solitude, Naruto's is being isolated. It genuinely feels like because some readers and watchers' worst experience is being yelled at by their parents to stop gaming at night and to do their homework, or maybe they were called a mean name online, that they undermine just how bad Naruto's life was and parrot the Rock Lee underdog agenda without thinking for themselves. Realistically, how does someone look at Naruto going through having a shopkeeper basically assault him? It's one of the saddest scenes in the whole series because almost the whole village views him as a monster. He just wants one of the masks because it looks cool. He's told to go away, and it's thrown at him like he's trash. Keep in mind, when he goes home, he's going home to an empty home. One that is only there because Hiruzen occasionally brings him money once a month. Kakashi and Hiruzen
Which
acquired food in his...
I still never understood why he did that. Like, why would he just... Like, why would he not do anything? Like, why wouldn't he be... I mean, I understand he's the Hokage and he's got responsibilities, but when you consider who he is, you would think that maybe he would try a little bit harder with him. I know that part always just kind of pissed me off.
His house, showing a literal child is going through depression and cannot take care of himself correctly. This is the same third Hokage, Hiruzen, who promised Minato and Kushina he'd look after Naruto, who's barely ever there, by the way. Jiraiya, his godfather, is on a pussy quest, writing books and whiling. Although his situation is more complicated,
Oh boy.
he doesn't turn up until Naruto is around 12 years old. Sakura, who is the first love interest of Naruto, and yes, I know she gets a lot of unnecessary flack, consistently hits and treats Naruto pretty terribly, and eventually even lies to his face. Naruto later in the story...
Oh, dude, this moment pissed off a lot of people. It pissed off a lot of people when this happened. Also, the whole hitting Naruto thing.
A lot of unnecessary flack, consistently hits and treats Naruto...
I was asked to watch a video that explains why Sakura does this. Apparently, it's I know it's a trope in a lot of anime that, oh, this is just done for comedic, comedic gags. There is a video I was asked to react to, and we will watch it as to why Sakura hits Naruto. All right, let's go back to it.
It's a lot of unnecessary flack, consistently hits and treats Naruto pretty terribly, and eventually even lies to his face. Naruto later in the story, who is so oblivious to someone showing him genuine caringness, he doesn't even realize that Hinata loved him all along, even in a movie dedicated entirely to showing this aspect. There are elements of this in the pain battle which are shown, though it truly isn't until the movie that he fully realizes Hinata is the right person for him. It's actually an element of the story that's incredibly undervalued. Naruto eventually getting over his feelings for Sakura and realizing that she's actually not the right girl for him is another thing that people don't pay attention to. I really feel like Masashi Kishimoto actually wrote that in a pretty realistic way. A lot of young men will waste their time pursuing women who in truth aren't actually worth the effort. And a lot of this wasted effort will come from a lack of experience, a lack of common sense, and a lack of being taught about this stuff by a peer. How do you see Naruto get shunned from society, rejected by those he admires, be manipulated by evil individuals, when that in itself is sad because it shows you that the one time someone showed Naruto some genuine attention, he learnt a forbidden fucking jutsu made by the second Hokage. People treat that like, oh, Naruto's gifted, he just learnt it easily. No, what's being shown and is followed up later in the story, which Sasuke actually makes fun of Naruto's inner insecurities, is Sasuke blatantly states, yo, you only use that jutsu because you're actually lonely inside. And then on the other angle of that, he learnt the jutsu because, again, someone finally showed him some true, actual caringness and support, and they were like, yo, go learn that jutsu, and he did. One of the biggest tropes in the entire series is the class clown Naruto doing things for attention, but then as he slowly develops, matures, meets people that, actually have genuine love for him, and he finds camaraderie and support, he develops and flourishes into an amazing character. I know not everyone has the fortitude to deal with all the things that Naruto did, but there's a lot of people out there who've had very bad upbringings, have experienced some terrible things, and they still haven't given up. It's actually one of the main reasons why I felt so much relatability with the main character and loved the series growing up. My childhood was terrible, and that isolation and lack of support by individuals in your life who, should be supporting you in some way or another, it has a genuine big toll. To think that people lowball Naruto's suffering and undermine his character to the point where it's broken down to, well, a talking frog said he's destined to get strong, so I guess all this pain and suffering vanishes the second old man Jesus waves his wand and gives him a squirt of power. He's not a real underdog like Rock Lee. Where does this weird rule of thumb for the underdog status that people have made up out of thin air? Because it's incredibly ironic that when people...
So, okay, just to talk about this, but okay, so yes, it doesn't take away what he went through. It is true. However, I will say this again. I think this was definitely a mistake. This was something that shouldn't have happened. Okay, I understand. Here's the thing: if Kishimoto wanted Hagoromo to show up and say that right now you and Sasuke are the best people that I can go to in order to help me with this, because obviously he's dead, so he can't actually come here and or go to the living world and actually do anything. So he needs people to give power to in order to solve this problem. A problem that honestly should have ended with me, which is actually a theme that we see multiple times. For example, Hashirama, when he meets up with Tsunade again in the in the war, he says that I'm the one who should apologize because this is a problem I should have taken care of. This should have ended with my era, and yet you people in the future are now having to deal with problems that I should have already solved in my time. And I think that that's like if Hagoromo had just done that, the reason why he came to Naruto is because he has the chakra of all nine-tailed beasts, because of who he is. He managed to befriend them, and they trusted him enough to share their chakra with him. He says, because of that, I believe that you are the right person for me to bestow part of my power to. And Sasuke, because of his insane natural gift of just being able to progress so quickly, he believes is the right person to give the Rinnegan to. And then these two, and because these two have a history, because these two are like it's explained actually in one of the novels, if I remember correctly. I think it's in the Boruto novel, that because and we've seen examples of it throughout the series, especially in the Land of Waves arc, that these two, Naruto and Sasuke, have a connection that is just it's hard to explain. Like they understand each other, especially in battle. So he believes these two are perfect. I'm going to give Sasuke the Rinnegan because he already has experience with visual dojutsu. That's kind of redundant. Because he has experience with dojutsu there, that's better. And because Naruto has experience being a Jinchuriki and he already has experience with Sage Mode, I'm going to give you Six Path Sage Mode. And then these two, with their insane connection that it seems like it can't be explained, will work together to put a stop to Madara. I feel like that would have probably been better than him saying, oh, you're the reincarnate of one of my son, and you're the reincarnate of my oldest son, so therefore I'm going to give you power. I feel like that in and of itself was a mistake, and it's what led to all of this. Also, remove the prophecy thing. Okay, just remove that. It shouldn't have been there. Okay, it really shouldn't have been there. It's just it felt unnecessary, in my opinion. You may not agree, but it just felt unnecessary. And again, I do agree, it doesn't necessarily take away from what these two went through as children, all the hardships. It doesn't necessarily take away from it, but at the same time, I will say it does kind of undermine it a bit when you say that Naruto was always prophesized to do something amazing. It does take away from it a little bit.
Power. He's not a real underdog like Rock Lee. Where does this weird rule of thumb for the underdog status that people have made up out of thin air even end? Because it's incredibly ironic that when people downplay Naruto and Sasuke's struggles due to how they end up when they're older, tell me, what's the difference between Neji and Sakura in the Chunin exams? Many will bring up Neji's conversation about destiny and his words to Naruto, but how about the fact that Neji, who is usually used as an example to show that Naruto is a quote-unquote hypocrite in a sense, or that his character is flawed with the way that Masashi Kishimoto wrote him, well, Neji is born with an eye, due to his DNA, that inherently gives him an edge over many characters, from Kiba, Sakura, to even Tenten. Do they now constitute being a greater example of underdog than he? Ironically too, Neji's destiny spiel is mostly directed at Naruto's ambitions to become Hokage, which is completely unaffected by the abilities he receives from the Sage of the Six Paths. Naruto was worthy of becoming Hokage once he defeated Pain, and had so much approval from the people of Konoha that he was remembered by name in the war as the hero of Konoha from even Sand Ninja. Something he always wanted since the first 5 chapters of the manga. Neji is so jaded from his childhood and the curse seal on his forehead that he believes wholeheartedly that things are predetermined and set in stone no matter what. His view of destiny is narrow-minded, and his situation, which although is terrible, sadly only affects him and those with this specific Hyuga clan seal, not the other millions of people on the same planet. He also has a very look-down-his-nose attitude towards people like Hinata, Rock Lee, and Naruto, purely for having hope. It's one thing to connect the dots with Neji's words, but his words of destiny are from an individual trapped by the traditions of his clan, not his own destiny. Neji in the Chunin exams went out of his way to try and kill Hinata, which would mean his predetermined servitude of Hinata would have been destroyed. By his own individual choice, defeating destiny. Naruto in this very fight proves Neji is wrong by calling him out on this. He also does the same thing when he's spectating the fight between Hinata and Neji. Didn't Neji, in essence, also actively choose to be a good person and die for the sake of Hinata in the war, instead of dying in the...
I still don't like the fact that that's how Neji died. I really don't like it. And I feel like a lot of people probably also don't like that that's how he went out. I mean, it's not that it's a bad way to go out, you know, protecting, you know, Hinata and Naruto, but yeah, I mean, when you don't really do all that much with him in the story, especially in part 2, and then you go to the war and he just dies, and it's like, wow, okay.
Die for the sake of Hinata in the war, instead of dying in the way he expected to. Many would say, well, this proves what Neji was saying, because he actually died in a way where he would be serving Hinata. But that's not actually true, because when you reread the chapters of his death, you'll find that he chose to die for Hinata. But not just Hinata. He also died for Naruto, and helped keep the war going. Neji versus...
By the way, they kind of censored this in the anime, which I don't understand. Like, the guy got pierced by he got pierced through his chest. Like, why would you? Oh, okay. This is one of the reasons why, again, I can't really stand the anime. It has its beautiful moments, it does, but the censorship, I can't take it. Again, I understand that there are, you know, standards for television that they have to adhere to. I get that, but it still sucks.
Verbatim states that Naruto's words impacted him in the Chunin exams, and that he had people who would be willing to die for him, including himself. Neji died by his own decision, not by his predetermined destiny. Once again, another character developing and overcoming their destiny. The only bad part about this fight is that Naruto had Kurama help him, which could understandably constitute being uncool in the fight to the viewer, but Jiraiya was telling Naruto to hone his skills of utilizing the chakra of the Nine Tails, another example of Naruto doing well when encouraged. The Neji versus Hinata and Naruto fights are narratively proving destiny isn't real in the world of Naruto. It's the main focus of both fights. Masashi Kishimoto didn't spend weeks drawing these chapters for no reason. He was trying to convey this message that destiny doesn't exist in Naruto and it can be overcome. It's so direct that in the world of Naruto, you could have Madara say, hypothetically, everybody is destined to die one day, and then he becomes immortal. He, by default, has then overcome destiny in that instance. The second he becomes immortal, boom, destiny's just been surpassed. It isn't actually, like I said earlier in the video, involving an unknown being that just waves its hand and it controls everybody.
Shout out to One Punch Man for being good. Yeah. Also, spoilers for One Punch Man, I guess.
It doesn't even exist.
Although, I guess it wouldn't really spoil anything for people who don't know what's going on, so. But yeah, this does happen.
To further prove this, remember when the author made an entire arc which revolved around the destiny of becoming Hokage? This was hammered home so hard to the reader and watcher that Kishimoto invented a necklace for this arc, which those who wear it have the misfortune of passing before reaching their dream. Tsunade chose Naruto and put faith in his dream over the potential of having her most important loved ones brought back to life by Orochimaru. Just like in the Neji fight, Naruto overcame this destined failure to become Hokage, which sadly, Naoki and Dan died because of. Orochimaru was constantly talking negatively about Naruto in his fight with Tsunade and Jiraiya, spoke about his lack of talent, and how he was essentially destined to die just like those two did in the past. Also, the idea of Naruto not working hard is so absolutely idiotic that it's almost like they didn't watch or read when Tsunade made a bet with Naruto that he wouldn't be able to learn the Rasengan within a week. You might have also forgotten, Tsunade was a famous gambler and bet this cursed necklace of the first Hokage on Naruto not being able to learn this incredibly difficult jutsu invented by the fourth Hokage. He was also going to lose his wallet to her if he lost the bet. The encouragement from Jiraiya and Tsunade, and bet, led to him never giving up on the jutsu. Once more, another example of Naruto doing well when supported and encouraged to do something. Just like when he went out of his way to speak to Asuma for advice on his newly found wind style and create his own S-class jutsu, which allowed him to be in the same echelon as Minato. Or you guys remember that dude he really loved, you know, the closest thing he's ever had to a family member? Jiraiya, I think that was his name. Remember when he passed?
Yeah, I think that was his name. I remember him vaguely. He liked toads, right? Yeah, that guy.
Training Sage mode, that he perfected it and found a cheat code to have more nature energy in his battle with pain. Naruto really is coming across as someone that doesn't work hard, huh? I do understand how many people could see Naruto being destined to get powers. Feels like it takes something away from the story. So many shonen series always over-exaggerate the main characters being destined to reach a certain milestone, they'll surpass a level of power, or they have a family member that's famous for being incredibly powerful. Then when they go from struggling to getting a huge power-up, it feels like a large skip in time, or not truly earned in a sense. It makes them...
Well, I will say Gon... Hold on.
It feels like a...
Gon... probably not the best example to use here, because at the time we didn't know like his dad was, well, we had an idea of who his dad was through some of the examples that Togashi showed us, but we didn't really know. I mean, we knew he was well known, but we didn't even know he was powerful. Or wait, was it revealed that Jing was like top 5 hunter around the world, or what they thought was the world at the time? I can't remember. Was it revealed before this moment? Well, maybe not. Although even if it wasn't, I guess it wouldn't really matter, because even if it was revealed afterwards, then people could say, "Oh, he's always like destined to be this powerful." Although I don't know. But I don't know. I feel like Gon may not be the best example here, because he only got this power because he made a contract, which obviously like didn't end well. Because if you know the series, you know what I'm talking about. So I don't know. I feel like Gon may not be the best example to be used here. Ichigo I can understand, and who was the other one? Oh yeah, Yusuke. Good examples, but I feel like Gon may not be the best example.
Large skip in time, or not truly earned in a sense. It makes them feel less authentic to the viewer, less relatable. Though, as I've displayed in this video, nothing changes for the main part of the story of Naruto, nor does it reflect on Naruto's real, hard work or horrible upbringing he had, and survived through. Even when Naruto did have help in battles in many instances throughout the series, it wasn't always how it appeared, and using this weird social underdog made up definition to undermine his journey, to me feels wrong and very silly. And breaking the Clyde fourth wall here for a second, I have to say that while editing up to this part of the video, it truly does feel like a lot of the time when I'm writing about Naruto or making a video on Naruto, that sadly a small yet very vocal minority of the community spouts so much crap about the characters and the story, to the point where it almost feels like they've read or watched a completely different story to me. And what makes it ridiculous is that a lot of these narrative elements of the story, or themes written into individual characters, you don't need to be a master at narrative analysis or even be very educated on writing to even understand it. This stuff is extremely blatant. In fact, it is so blatant that all you have to do is read the manga and watch the anime. I would also like to say that if I was writing Naruto, Destiny and prophecy type story tropes would definitely not be in my version of the story. But not because I think they're bad writing type strategies or anything like that, but because quite frankly, I've seen it way too many times in other stories. And yes, I can definitely see how at first glance it may have bothered a lot of older Naruto fans and felt like it took something away from the story. However, Madara proved to us that nothing is set in stone, and your supposed destiny doesn't define you. In fact, so did Naruto. Naruto overcame his destiny.
Is that it? Is that the end of the video?
Hey everyone, I just wanted to end off this video with a bit of an apology for the lack of activity on my YouTube channel and the lack of Twitch streams. For the past few months, I've been pretty down mentally, and I really didn't want to return to YouTube unless I had something that was what I would consider a really good upload. So I dedicated around 3 weeks to making this specific video. I fine-tuned the script 10 times, went back and recorded lines for the video that I was unhappy with when it came to the pronunciation or the sound of certain sentences. A single pop noise in the background, or me bumping my desk, or anything like that whatsoever. Even sometimes if there was a loud S noise, if I said "tss," like that noise.
Yeah, that can be a little bit.
I also overhauled around 10 minutes of footage in the video to make sure that the entire video was in HD anime footage, which meant I had to re-edit that entire 10 minutes and change certain things and small edits, which if you're familiar with editing, it's a very big pain. Along with
It can be a bit of a pain, yeah.
And just other things here and there which were pretty annoying. But all I want to say is that I hope you all enjoyed the video, and thank you so much for
I did. It is a good video.
My streams on Twitch will return this week, and I hope that you can all just do me a really small favor and please go follow my Twitch and other social media below, which is all linked below. There will be another Bleach video soon, as I've actually finished a script for a Bleach video.
Nice.
So if you're subscribed to me mostly for Bleach content, well, it's on the way. Again, I'm really sorry for being away from the channel. I hope you appreciate this transparency at the end of the video. Take care, everyone, and thanks for watching.
Okay, so that's the video, and oh boy. Okay, so I'm not gonna keep you guys here any longer than you probably want to, because we're already over the 50 minutes. So I'm just gonna wrap it up real quick. So look, I'm not gonna repeat what I kind of probably already said in the video. It's just that I feel like people make good points on both sides, and he even addressed some of them towards the end of the video. The whole prophecy thing for me, I feel like, is the biggest problem. If that was just removed, then I feel like maybe no one, or at least it wouldn't be as prominent as it is now. You wouldn't see as many people saying that Naruto was never an underdog and all that stuff. I'm sure there would be some people who would say, well, it's kind of hard to see him as an underdog when you consider the fact that he has this and this. But the prophecy thing and the reincarnation thing, I feel like, is just, that's kind of what cemented it in people's minds. And if that was just removed, I feel like it would have made the story a lot better, at least for me personally. Maybe for you, it didn't affect the story for you in any way, shape, or form. But yeah, so those are my thoughts, guys, on that whole thing. Let me know your thoughts about the the whole prophecy thing, the reincarnation. Did it take away from the story for you, or do you just not care either way? Let me know all your thoughts in the comment section down below. Do you agree with every point that he made in this video, or you disagree with it, or maybe you disagree with some of it and you agree with some of the other points that he made? Let me know all your thoughts in the comment section down below, guys. Remember to leave a like, share the video, subscribe if you haven't. Make sure to hit the bell to be notified whenever I post a new video. Thank you to everyone who did subscribe to my channel. I hope you will continue to support me in the future, and make sure to check the description for links for every one of my videos to the channel of whoever it is that we're reacting to. In this case, it's Clyde. I'll leave a link to his channel in the description, and a link to this video so you can go and watch it for yourselves, which I highly recommend you do, to show Clyde some support. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope to see you for the next one. And as always, guys, if you have any recommendations, just let me know about them in the comments. Bye for now.